What's up, friends? Today we're testing out a bunch of Overdrive pedals. Overdrive pedals, as you know, are roughly used as a preamp / clean boost, as Corey Beaulieu calls it, into getting in the front of an amp of a 5150 sort. 5150s and the families of 5150s are basically the way to get metal tone, and is the greatest amps for metal tone in the world, in my humble opinion. 8 out of 9 Trivium records were made with some form of Peavey and or 5150. The last record was actually done with a Triple X2. Our first record was done with a Triple X1, and everything in between was either 5150, 1, 2, 05, 05 plus, 34 plus, or some family of 5153 on Sin, and that's the only one we ever used, 5153. So the pedals we're testing today, we'll do them in order. We will go this cute little buddy right here, Sugar Drive by MXR. The MXR Custom Badass Modified OD, which has a 100 hertz knob on it. The classic TS9 tube screamer. This one was actually used on What the Dead Men Say. It was this into a Triple X2. Maxon OD9, which is another one of the super classics. I'm sure we use this on one of our records. Also have the Precision Drive by Horizon Devices. Precision Horizon, yes, tongue twister. And these are set to a setting that Mark Lewis gave me that I used on that secret song that I have not told anybody what it's about yet, that has incredible guitar tone. And then another one of Corey's pedals, the Aris TS Preamp. We're going to try all these out real quick. I've got them in good settings. The only things we've got, so this is my Epiphone with Fishman Moderns and Evertune. It's going into a Polytune, has nothing to do with tone, into an MXR 6-band EQ with very, very little bit of stuff. We dropped a little bit of 400, a little bit of 800 boosted, and a little bit more of 1.5K boosted, but super, super little bit. And then the 3.5 is slightly lowered. That's going into the Overdrive, into an NS2, into a block letter 5150 that goes into a box of doom that's behind me with the Redback 150 watt. Left and right is a fake stereo of SM57, SM57. Both go into my Mac, which shoots into my PC, is where you're getting this from. But on the Mac, all it has is a high cut, low cut on each side, and an extra noise gate, because I live in a 1950s house with fantastic electrical that always has a buzz in the background, so very professional. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no mastering. There's no mixing. That's what it is. So let's test some stuff out. Let's go in that order. We might go on and off with the EQ. We might not. I'm not sure. Let's try this. So I'm going to mute the vocals now so you have pure guitar tone and nothing bleeding in, and I'll show you what it is before I plug it in. And this right here is with the bump button on and the EQ off. And I'm going to alternate between both. The Maxon definitely benefits with the EQ off, and instead of doing the setting where the typical gain is all the way off, volume is all the way up, tone is kind of in the middle or 60%, this one does better with the 50-50-50 settings, which is also kind of a standard to be put in front of a 5150. So what I'm messing with here, this pedal has an attack knob, which really changed the characteristics of the mid frequencies in this pedal. I'm alternating between the 6-band EQ on or off. I think it's kind of a little bit too hot with the EQ on because it has roughly its own EQ. But this one's really cool. This was one that I feel like works very, very well with passive pickups. Although technically the Fishmans are passive. I mean like a true passive. True passive. This one is super interesting, this Airis pedal. This one, the controls are so intensive, like even the slightest tick on the knob and it drastically changes that profile, especially in the low. Like if you turn the low past, I don't know, past 9 o'clock, or even I'd say past 8 o'clock, it sounds like a fuzz pedal. But down here, it's actually pretty low on the low and it sounds amazing. I have the EQ on for this. The MXR EQ, once again, the settings, a slight drop in 400, a slight increase in 800, a slight higher increase than that on 1.5, and a slight decrease on 3.5. On this is only a low cut and a high cut, nothing else. The 5150 is a Mark Lewis setting. I don't know if he wants me to give out the settings, but it's a pretty typical EQ setting. The gain is actually pretty low. It's just one tick above 3. The TS, what's nice, it doesn't have gain, which is I've always been convinced of that I need an overdrive with a gain knob, and Corey's like, no, you don't. You're just using this as a clean boost. It's a preamp. So he's the one that let me this one. And a big thing too guitarists need to recognize is more gain does not equal heavier signal, and more low end does not equal heavier signal. I can't even talk. More low end does not equal heavier signal. Bass guitar fills that in, and drums fill that in. So if you step on the bass frequencies, your guitar turns into mud. So everyone fast forward around, rewind around, figure out which pedal you like the best. Remember, I barely scratched the surface of what you could do with the pedals, what you could do with the amp, what you could do with the EQ, what you could do with the post EQ, which guitars, which pickups, which picking, what kind of guitar player, but there it is. I don't know what my favorite is yet. That's why I have so many options. I got to figure it out. But here's what a 5150 sounds like with nothing in front. And mind you, this head is the greatest head I've ever played through. I've played through a lot of heads, a lot of 5150 style amps. This is what a 5150 is supposed to sound like, and this is the best sounding head I've ever played in my life. I'm not exaggerating. I'm very lucky the person I bought this from took very good care of it. It's a 90s amp. It's the block ladder. Listen, so this is what a 5150 sounds like with nothing in front. This is just the TS and the noise gate. EQ. So there it is. And the reason why I've been tone chasing is Corey Bull, you and I are working on something. We're working on an amp, or we're working on a tube amp head that finally will be the answer when someone's like, how do I get a tone to play modern metal that sounds like Trivium or Gojira or, you know, a modern version of an At the Gates tone, something post melodic death metal world into modern metal through metalcore. And how can I find that tone? We're working on that answer. And that answer will come soon. I don't know when, but be on the lookout. Save your allowance money, kids. We got an amp coming your way. Thank you very much.